Let's talk about another question here, which comes up a lot. You guys are big on, chat and dialogue. We call it what is the new conversation center, I think is what they call it instead of a contact center, like the conversation center. So,
A lot.
customers, of course, talk to your employees and your employees talk to your customers. But we also talk to each other, right? Within our customers talk to each other and our employees talk to each other. What happens in a post-generative AI world? What's different now, with those patterns today?
So it's early days still, right? Because not everybody has access to these tools yet. We had some early access to Copilot and played with it, but now it's really being launched last week, November 1st. We're going to start to really, I think, get feedback from teams really across businesses and organizations. I think one of the biggest changes that we're going to see, and it's starting to be used a little bit, is this notion of like there's a real assistant and third person in that room helping enrich those conversations at all times. So you think about the idea of like AI mediated conversations, where we've got someone in the room who's listening, who can pull up relevant information, go and validate some of the things that we're saying, provide some prompt if there's questions that have come up, but like the two people on the team don't have an answer. I think being able to have that third party who's listening in on the back end, provide like real-time insights, suggestions, some background information, really changes things, because we can have access to that information that sometimes we're missing in these conversations instantaneously. And that's huge because it makes us more productive in the moment and being able to get things done now, as opposed to having to have 2 3 conversations to accomplish the same thing. Why? Because, well, I'm not sure, I got to go validate and whatnot. Having that third party, that co-pilot, that assistant, however we want to frame this, we'll call it co-pilot because we're doing a lot of Microsoft work, so we should. I think it's a game changer to make those conversations happen in real time, get more done in real time, and not delay things, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of work and meetings that pile up and we end up happening just because we don't have access to this stuff. Like that's one major thing that I see that is really, really important. What's kind of one of the top things that you're seeing from that perspective?
Yeah, let me build on that, right? So, each person has their own co-pilot, right? Each person has their own AI agent, and many people might have multiple, right? Depending on, the nature of the role in the organization and what assets and tools they have. And so, to your point, you're in a meeting, you joined late. What happened? And recap this meeting for me, quickly synthesizing, potentially thousands of lines of transcript and summarizing it for me saves me a ton of time. Or something like, hey, how do people feel about this topic in this meeting? Because, I can't look at everything everyone said in the transcript and synthesize, the intent, the meaning. There's a lot of language skills that these large language models, these co-pilots have. We can use those to help us rationalize, right? And predict maybe even a little bit like what questions are unresolved. And when you ask those, the more connected it is. So if we're using something like Microsoft 365 Copilot, when I say is what are unresolved, it can even predict potential answers from like, knowledge bases, from documents, from assets within the organization. So that means like if I'm having this interactive discussion, I can not just be, quicker to your point by using my AI agent, but I can actually have access to information and superpowers I just wouldn't have otherwise. Similarly, when you finish that meeting, right, there's a whole lot of stuff that happens before and after a meeting, right? And so we often talk about like collaboration, talking with each other as the event, but actually there's work before, like when do we schedule and set up that? What's the agenda? What are some things I might prime you on or might ask you like to fill out a little survey before? And then after the event's done, what actions items do I have? Like follow-ups, what motions need to happen as a follow-up? So like having AI reconcile both those sides of the equation is also really powerful. Predicting agendas are helping us define those, or on the other side, extracting action items, which is a really common one. With Teams Premium or now Microsoft Copilot, there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can even have fun with it. One of the ones we've been playing with Copilot for the last couple months is for every week I keep switching. I say every time it summarizes things for me, I say do like a Boston accent or do like an impersonation, just to kind of make it a little bit more fun for myself and the
But
team
that's
when
huge
we use it.
because what's cool about this as well is that you're going to be able to personalize this for the way you work and the things that are important for you and you like it's not a blanket bland one size fits all. The capabilities are there, but you get to take advantage of it, enjoy it, use it to play to the things that really work for you. I mean, I got on a call yesterday, and this isn't tremendous value, but there's some Snapchat capabilities in
Yeah.
some of the tooling now. So I got on a call yesterday with a colleague, and he had some pretty funny images, and like it also makes some of this, when it's not the most serious meeting with tons of people and you're one-on-one with a colleague just to go over some stuff, it kind of makes this a little bit more interesting and fun too at sometimes, which I think is really great. And the personalization piece, again, I think it's big because
And
today
we
things
see that, right? Like we see
standard.
that on the customer side, right? You have these systems where it's like teaching people this person's getting upset, like, reframe how you're saying, like there's coaching tools built into contact centers, right? Like the space you guys work in a lot. And similarly, inside of organizations, we just haven't had a lot of these tools. Like now we have methods to access those, and it can coach you, right? It can adapt how you work a little bit. Sorry, continue. I just really wanted to make
No,
that
no, that's
connection point.
no, that's great. That's great. The other thing I think that we should just highlight, which I think is really important and does and where this is going to help is to keep the conversations as data driven as possible, not again to make it robotic, but just to have the real right information. So we're having a conversation about something tangible and not just my opinion or my emotion coming into the conversation. Still working with all people, and our egos and emotions get involved in our conversations. It's hard to block them out completely. Having the data be presented in an objective fashion, I think normalizes that conversation. So, okay, we're all on the same page and kind of now, in a way, should have access to this same information if we have our co-pilot on the call with us, either on the call or before or after, helping us have this information. But keeping it data driven and again, less opinion, I think will help businesses, organizations, and teams again just be more productive, cut through some of the nonsense that could go on in a meeting when it gets sidetracked and goes like on a far
Yeah.
right turn. I think it's important. And before, again, you have to really do a ton of homework and learn everything and know everything and have all your notes ready to be prepared. I'm not saying not to show up prepared, but to have your assistant there helping you, I think is going to be great.